Hey y'all, welcome back to yet another week of Brave Kids Art Club. My name is Brad and I am so excited for today's episode because it's different. It's gonna be different. We're not drawing animals every single day anymore. Like I'd promised, I've been telling you guys this for a little bit, that we're gonna be going to drawing everything, not just animals. Now, some of you, that might make you a little sad, and it makes me a little sad, to be honest. I absolutely love drawing animals, and I would draw animals still every single day, even if this show didn't exist, because I just love drawing them so much. But there's so many other things out there, and I'm interested in a lot of different things, and I know you guys are too. Your parents have been sending in some amazing requests from you guys of what you'd like us to draw. So today we're gonna be drawing something very cool and very different. Now, don't worry, we're gonna be drawing animals again. I'm not gonna completely stop drawing animals because I love them and I know you guys do too. So we'll keep putting animals in there, but I wanna mix in some other things. So today we are actually going to be drawing a rocket. And I couldn't be more excited because I love space and I have so many fun facts to share about rockets. Yes, I'm gonna be sharing more facts, just like I do with the animals. I'll be sharing facts about everything because I'm always just interested in everything that I draw and I wanna learn more about it. So are you guys ready? Awesome. Okay, well, let's make sure we have everything we need and let's get started. Okay, make sure you have a nice clean sheet of paper. We're still going to need a pencil because we still do our sketching no matter what it is, animal or not. We're gonna do a lot of sketching and make sure everything looks right before we outline it with a dark marker or a pen that we'll have handy. And then make sure you have like an eraser of some type because we wanna get rid of that under sketch. Or if you make mistakes along the way, we wanna be able to erase those. But I'm adding something else to our tools, and that is a ruler. So if you don't have a ruler, that's perfectly fine. You can just grab anything that's straight. So that could be like a book or something like that, or a piece of cardboard you can use, because we're not gonna use it a lot. We're just gonna use it for basically 2 lines. But a ruler would be handy if you have one. And then at the very end, of course, we're gonna do some coloring. And I always have my markers, but that doesn't mean you have to use markers. Use whatever coloring tools you would like or have around. All right, so let's start off with our sketch. Now, I'm not gonna use my ruler right away just because we wanna make sure that we have everything in the right position before we kind of commit to our cleaner lines. But right now, I wanna kind of do it at angles. My initial thought is I wanna kind of angle my rocket, just make it a little bit more interesting on my page. So I'm gonna have this rocket already off in the air, so I'm not gonna have all the smoke on the ground. I'm gonna have it up so I can see the flames and maybe it's just about to get into space. All right, so let's do this. Let's draw kind of a line at an angle right around here. And then we'll draw another one parallel to it, which is like the same exact angle right next to it. Maybe like this. And you see how I make kind of messy lines? That's okay. You can make lots of messy lines, just trying to figure out where this is gonna be and how big it's gonna be. And it might not be perfect, and that's okay. I don't think I really want mine to be a little bit skewed maybe. Who knows? And then we're gonna do a little, let's kind of make a line here so we know where the kind of the top and bottom of our rocket is. Because rockets are like cylinder shaped typically. That's just how rockets are shaped. So I wanna have like that cylinder shape, which looks like a big long rectangle right now when it's flat. And then we're gonna do the top part of it, which is like your payload or where your crew sits if you're gonna be shot up into space. So in this case, I'm gonna be doing a rocket that is going into space and it's taking astronauts up there. That's my story, my backstory for my rocket. So at the top, it's gonna try to be kind of pointy. That helps it travel through the air quicker, or easier, I should say, by giving it a nice point. Makes it more aerodynamic, kind of cuts through the air a little bit better. Kind of reminds you of a, I don't know, it kind of reminds me of a firework, like a bottle rocket, because that's an actual rocket too. In fact, the Chinese are the ones that invented the rocket. It just wasn't the rocket that would shoot up into space. They were little rockets that were shaped like arrows, and they're a lot slower. And but yeah, okay, so now let's start adding maybe some fins. Now, these little fins on the side, the reason why we have these fins, I'll start doing, I'm gonna go in a little bit to give it a little bit of depth. So I'm actually gonna start from this corner and go out like that, and go from this corner maybe, like that. There we go. And the reason that we have fins on rockets, if they do have them, it's to help stabilize them. It makes sure that they can fly straight or wherever direction they're trying to go, but that way they fly straight. Okay, let's do another one on this side. And you can do these whatever shape you want. There's not a real set shape to how these fins look. And this rocket that I'm drawing right now is not a real rocket that I'm basing this off of. I'm just making this up. So feel free on your end to kind of do whatever you want with it too. We're kind of getting the main parts of a rocket. So we got the fins, we got the main body of our rocket, we got the top part, which is either the capsule for all the astronauts to sit in, or it's there to hold stuff to take up into space. So for example, I'm gonna draw a little porthole because mine's gonna have astronauts in there. So I'm gonna draw a tiny little hole in here, just like a little window for them to see out of while they're up there in space. I might want to make that a little bit bigger, but we can do that later. So right now, I just want to make this little point up here. Maybe I'll do the little point there at the very tip. Is that kind of straight? Yeah, it's close enough. But other things that they put in there, like a lot of rockets will put satellites up into space, and this will actually be called a payload, and it'll just hold the satellites, and when it gets up into space, it opens up and releases all the satellites, which is really cool. So the rocket's really the vehicle to get things somewhere. In the case of space, it's just to get things up into space. So let's draw the little booster on the back. This part of your rocket is going to be your engine. So let's do a couple lines maybe right here. Now you can draw multiples. Usually there's like a lot of little ones, but for what I'm drawing, I want to draw one big one. Maybe you want to draw a few of these little things at the end. And this is where all that fire comes out. The flames come out the back end. And that's how rockets work, actually. They fly through a process called propulsion. That means there's some energy source that's burning up and shooting out the back end of this thing, and it's propelling it or shooting it forward or up into the air. And so that's what a rocket does. It has fuel inside here that burns up and shoots out the bottom. Kind of like when you have a balloon and you blow it up and then you release the end of it and it kind of flutters and floats around because all the air is escaping really, really fast. That's kind of what's happening with the rocket. It shoots it straight up in the air. Okay, so we got our main rocket up here. We got the fins on. What else do we need on a rocket? Maybe we need that flame in the back. Let's draw that. So I'm going to do a shape kind of like this. Now you can draw your flame. I'm not even going to tell you how to draw your flame. You can watch along and follow, or you can draw yours however you'd like. This is the fun part. Just kind of draw it however you'd like. I kind of got the flame out the back like that. I kind of like the look of that. It looks like flames. And then I'm going to do a few more on the inside, getting smaller and smaller, just so I can do different colors. And you can separate them like with it, like this with lines if you want, or you can even just do it with your colors if you'd like. Lots of different ways. There's no wrong way to draw this. So then we'll draw another little one right here in the middle. There you go. It kind of gives that look of flames. It's also how you can draw a fire, like a little campfire or something if you wanted. Okay, so I am going to probably draw that a little bit bigger. Maybe this goes out a little bit. Maybe this goes out, and this little capsule on the front, on the top, gets a little bit bigger, wider. Yeah, I think that'd be kind of cool, because I'm trying to make something that goes up into space, and I want to have more things to draw on. But I like the look of this. It's looking really cool. All right, so now we can just do a really fun part, which is just adding a bunch of little sections on our rocket, right? Maybe this rocket is an American rocket and you have a US flag on the side of it, and you can add that, or maybe you have other little stickers or words with the name of your rocket on the side. Lots of different things, but we're gonna draw some lines on here. So sometimes it's just how it's put together, right? If it's a metal one, they kind of got these little rivets like this, these little dots here, they kind of hold it all together. So sometimes they'll have stuff like that. Sometimes they'll have other little sections all over these rockets because they actually break apart, which is really cool. So a lot of times when we draw rockets, we draw them as one piece. We'll have a big circle right here, big spot for the astronaut to look out of, but that's not really realistic because the rocket is actually going to fall off when it gets up into a certain point up in the air, right up into the space. It's going to detach. It's actually going to detach a couple different times, but let's draw another little set like this. And those, whenever it detaches, those are called different stages of your rocket. So this part right here might be where you keep all of your fuel. They have a liquid fuel because it burns hotter than If you had like a bottle rocket or something like that, it has like a gunpowder in it, that's a solid fuel. It doesn't burn as hot as a liquid fuel. So they put that in here and it would burn really, really hot and be able to push this thing up into the sky. And because they're so big, like really, really big, you'd need to have a lot of fuel. So this section right here is gonna be our fuel. Here's your engine right here. This part's gonna be your, this little whole section is gonna pop off too once it's up into space. It's gonna push it towards wherever it's going. And then this final piece is the pod that actually lands if it's gonna go on the moon or wherever it's gonna go, or go to the International Space Station. This part's gonna be the only piece that's gonna be left with the crew inside. Kind of cool. So they got 3 different little parts of that you can break down. So that's why we're kind of drawing these fun little lines all over the place. And you can do whatever you'd like to do to make this yours and more interesting. I'll just draw a few different lines there. Maybe like another one like right here. Yeah, that'll be a whole lot of fun. But it looks pretty cool. I think this will be a lot of fun to color in. And then if you want to add anything else around it, you can totally do that. Maybe I'm gonna draw a circle first. And maybe I'll just kind of draw kind of another circle in it. If it makes, I'm gonna draw moon. So if you want to draw like just a moon, it's easier kind of to draw a couple different circles next to each other and just erase the one side. It makes it a lot easier. So you gotta get that moon shape, that crescent shape. And maybe I'm gonna add a few different stars. You can add whatever you want around it. I'm just gonna add a few different little elements to make this fun because it's heading up into space. Now, realistically, at this point, this whole chunk is probably just about ready to pop off and to come down back to Earth. And before, they actually had to just get rid of those. This part of the rocket, toast. It would blow up or burn up in the atmosphere when it's coming back on re-entry. But now, thanks to SpaceX, they've created a rocket that actually comes back. It comes back and lands so you can reuse it. It's the first reusable rocket. And that was the Falcon 9 by SpaceX. And the coolest part about that, well, I mean, not the coolest, but a very, very cool part about that is that I have a friend who works at SpaceX, and he helped build the Falcon 9. How cool is that? He's a really good friend of mine. He works for SpaceX, and I just think that's the coolest claim to fame. Create the first reusable rocket, because rockets are not cheap. They cost a lot of money and the fuel's very, very expensive. And they have to have a lot of it to get these massive rockets up into the air. All right, so let's start with our outline. Now I'm at a pretty good place. Now hopefully you are too and you feel pretty comfortable about it. Now this is where I might use my ruler. Now that I have a kind of an idea of where everything's going to be, I might use my ruler here to kind of straighten out some of these lines. I kind of want to make it kind of get bigger at the top. I think I'm going to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of just go from here. Make sure you stop before that fin. Ooh, stop before that fin. And I'm going to go on this side and I'm going to do the same thing. Make it go a little bit wider than what I had it at. Let's stop at the fin. There we are. Okay, now that's probably the extent of my ruler usage, but it really does help. So I'm grateful I have that with me right now. Okay, so now we might make it easier if I can kind of establish my point. So then I'm going to just draw a straight line across here. I only use the ruler for really long lines. All right, so now let's do this capsule up here. Now, just recently, I don't know if you saw it or watched it, but SpaceX and NASA teamed up together to send the first manned capsule by SpaceX, which means they had astronauts inside there. It was called the Dragon capsule. And it was the very first time that the SpaceX company had sent people up into space. And the first time this rocket had sent people up into space, which was a really cool accomplishment. Really, really neat accomplishment. But it was really even neater to see. But yeah, that little capsule in the front was called the Dragon capsule. And it would just pop off. Just this little part on the top would pop off, and it would connect to the International Space Station, where you have astronauts up there doing research and things, kind of living up in space. Isn't that crazy? They can live up there in space. Seems like a pretty cool job. All right, so I'm going to draw another line on the inside to kind of finish off my window here. Little viewport. Now I kind of wish these were a little bit skinnier, so I can make these little fins maybe just a slightly bit skinnier. Well, I tried. Maybe not. There we are. And there we are. Have you ever shot off model rockets? Have you ever made a model rocket? They're pretty cool. You'd have to have your parents help you with them, but model rockets are a really cool way to learn a lot about a rocket, and you can shoot these things up hundreds and hundreds of feet up in the air. They're really cool. They got teeny tiny little engines on them that you can buy. And you can shoot them up in the air, and then when they come back down, they float down with a little parachute. So it just kind of floats on down. They have a parachute somewhere in the middle of here, so when the top pops off, the little parachute pops out too, and it'll allow it to just kind of float back down, so you can reuse it. All right, now let's do this big booster on the bottom where the engine is, burning up all of that rocket fuel, making this fire and this flame super, super hot. Very, very hot. And that's why they chose the liquid fuel, because it burns really, really hot. These rockets can reach up to 15,000 miles per hour. 15,000 miles per hour. That is insanely fast. That is so, so fast. But they need to be going that fast to get that much weight up off the ground and out of the, out of the atmosphere of Earth, because you got gravity trying to hold you down, and you have so much weight on these rockets. And the problem is that your rocket's super big, and it's big because you have to put more rocket fuel in it so that it can push it up into the sky. But every time you make the rocket bigger, it gets heavier, and the fuel is even heavier. So that's actually why they have the different stages, so that they can break off. So this chunk will just go up, just get you up to space, and then it'll break off, and this part will have another little engine in it, and it'll start boosting out using rocket fuel, and it'll start pushing it through space. And then this little guy right here has a teeny tiny little bit to get it just to where it needs to land. And that's pretty cool, huh? It's pretty smart that they thought of that it had to break up into little pieces so that they could solve the weight issue, because they're just so heavy. They're so big. The rocket that took the first men on the moon, which was the Apollo 11 mission, they took a Saturn V was the name of that rocket. Okay, now before I go into that story, here's some lines that we're just gonna put across here. And maybe you could do any sort of pattern or anything that you wanna do on here. It'll be really fun. This is basically a chance for you to be creative, and you're gonna be able to color this in, so remember that. So the more little things that you outline here, the more things you get to color in, which would be really fun. Okay, yeah, so the Saturn V, that was a massive, massive rocket. It was something like 360 something feet tall. Huge, 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 huge. To put that into perspective, the tallest trees in the world are the redwood trees. The redwood forest, have you ever heard of that? Look it up if you have not. It's very, very cool. The trees are massive, and they're about 240 feet tall. And they're still not as tall as that rocket. That's how big that rocket is. So, so big. Bigger than like the rockets, most of the rockets we shoot today. We launch off today still. It's just a really, really big, big rocket. But that's what took the Apollo 11 mission up into the moon. So it's a very important rocket. And it's a really cool looking rocket too, if you want to look that up. Okay, what else should I add on here? Maybe I'll do a little line right here. I like maybe putting a little line over here. So these little rivets, like I said, these are kind of like, I'm just kind of showing maybe how it was put together. Maybe it's put together as big metal. To hold metal together, a lot of times they use rivets. You see them on airplanes and things like that. So maybe we'll do those little dots. That's what those will be. And then, yeah, maybe there's just other little random shapes on here that serve some type of purpose. But since I'm making this rocket up, I'm not sure what purpose that actually is. And that's okay. You can do whatever you would like here. There we go. Maybe some more lines would just make it look cool. All right, okay, I'm going to do the last little riveting right here. And, man, that rocket's going to be so much fun to color in. Did I go too fast for you? Maybe I shared too many facts. Maybe I could have gone a little faster if I shared less facts. But I just find rockets so fascinating because I find space so fascinating. It's just a whole new there's a whole new frontier for exploring. And every time you think that, oh man, we've explored pretty much everything on Earth, which still isn't true. It kind of feels like that because so much of it has been explored. But think about space. So little of space has been explored. We're just in a tiny little speck in the universe, and we're just trying to explore what we can with what we can. And that's why we're trying to get men and women on Mars. So we got man on the moon, but now we're trying to get to Mars. And the reason we're trying to get to Mars is basically the next place that we can go that we can stand on, and it might have something for us there on Mars. And we're just trying to explore it more. We have a rover out there, but no people. So, and the problem again is just our rockets. We don't have enough fuel to get there yet and back. We can get there, but we can't get back. It's months and months away. So maybe in your lifetime, or maybe even my lifetime, we'll see people make it to Mars. That's a crazy thought. That's so far away, but such a cool thought. And that's the goal. I want to get to Mars. Well, okay, I'm finished with my rocket. I'm ready to go ahead and color it in. So I'm just going to erase all the sketching and I'm going to start coloring, and we'll just catch up right after. All right, and our rocket is finished. Wow, that was so much fun. And you know what? I had just as much fun as I had drawing animals. I was kind of worried about that. But this was a whole lot of fun, and I hope you guys enjoyed drawing this, and I hope you're excited to draw a whole lot more other things other than animals. I think animals are amazing, and I can't wait to draw our next animal. But we do have a lot of fun things planned to draw. So hopefully you're proud of what you drew, and you had a lot of fun coloring it and maybe adding a fun scene around it. That's what it's all about, is just having fun and being creative and adding your own little flair to your own rocket. So, well, now you know how rockets work and how they look, so you can kind of make your own version of them, which is really awesome. But I'm happy with the one I made. Hopefully you are too. And when we are happy and proud of what we made, we need to sign our work. So I'm going to go ahead and add my initials right there. And my rocket is officially done. Well, I appreciate you guys. I always love drawing with you. And now that we're drawing all sorts of other things, I really want your input on what we need to draw. So just go ahead and have your parents go onto Instagram at Brave Kids Art Club, and they can just direct message us and let us know exactly what you want to draw next. Now, I know some of you have filled out that survey, which is amazing, and you gave us some great ideas, and so that's kind of where this came from, and my love of rockets. But please keep giving us ideas. We do this Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We do these classes, so stick around, subscribe to the channel. If you enjoyed this, please give it a like so that I can keep doing these things for you. This is so much fun. And remember, be brave, be creative, but most importantly, be you. Alrighty, we'll see you guys next time.